What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Got something a little bit different for you today. It's been a very long time since I did an album review on YouTube, but I figured it was time to give it a go today, since an album is coming out that I'm very excited about, but I'm not going to get to talk about on the podcast. So yeah, this isn't. Don't get used to this because I'm not going to be doing it that often, just every now and then. This album isn't actually out yet. It's not out for another 2 or 3 days, and under the usual run of things I'd probably put clips of the music in and stuff, but given that it's not officially out yet, I've only got it because it's leaked, and I've only heard it because it leaked quite a while ago. I just don't want to run the risk of this video getting flagged up and taken down or whatever. But anyway, I'm talking obviously about Arctic Thunder by Darkthrone. And I've got to level with you just before we go into this. It's been a long time since Darkthrone did anything I was into. I'm only really into black metal Darkthrone. When they go outside of black metal, they sort of started to lose me a little bit when they went off to do their adventures with kind of crust punk and traditional heavy metal and that sort of thing. But then the track Tundra Leech dropped, and I got very excited to hear Arctic Thunder. It felt like something quite fresh, yeah, old school from the band, so I was really looking forward to hearing this album, and I was really hyped for it. Then it leaked, and I was informed about this. I got hold of it, and I've got to say I am quite impressed. So what I'm going to do essentially, I'm going to go, first of all I'm going to go track by track on the 8 tracks on the album. Then at the end I'm going to kind of sum it up with the pros and cons as best I can. So I mean, Tundra Leech opens up with this crunchy feedback that gives the song straight away a really live feel, basically before the album's even really started. So it gives you that feeling that you're right there. It's going to be black metal, it's going to be raw, it's going to be a little touch unrefined, it's going to be a little bit rough around the edges, and that's what we love about black metal, of course. I mean, this song Tundra Leech is total Celtic Frost worship, there's no two ways about that, and I love that. I'm a huge Celtic Frost fan, and it's great to see Darkthrone wearing their influences on their sleeve. There's a great progressiveness to the song as well. There's plenty of tempo changes, etc., which is present throughout the whole album. And is really nice to get, what with the fact that black metal can sometimes lack a bit of variety. When the song sort of strays into the kind of new wave of British heavy metal type riff, it loses me just a little bit, but it's still perfectly listenable at that point. Then it gets into Burial Bliss, and this song is straight up black metal, just how I like it. It's a relatively simplistic song, but there is a touch of variety sprinkled in here and there. They add in a few little sections and a few little diversions to make this song a very interesting piece of work. The song has got a great old school early 90s Norwegian black metal vibe about it. It feels like a tribute to the band's classic era in a way, kind of harking back to their kind of unholy trinity, as people like to call it. It's kind of a bummer that the song ends on a fade out. It feels a little bit immediate, almost as if the song could have gone on a little bit longer. So other than that anticlimax, it's a pretty great song. Boreal Fiends, the 3rd track, is a densely atmospheric number. The central riff sends a shiver down your spine all the way through as it comes back to this kind of murky, haunted feeling that the riff gives you. There's a lot of tremolo pick riffs as well that kind of are very well offset by the much slower down-tempo drums that provides quite an uneven feeling. You wouldn't necessarily pair this rhythm up with this style of guitar playing. Everything about the composition feels very mapped out. There's no overstuffing. It's a very mature composition. It feels just right. Again, this is another song with a massive Celtic Frost influence, and I really think it's awesome that the guys are showing this influence, given that I love Celtic Frost, and when black metal bands do Celtic Frost style stuff, that tends to get me on board. Track 4 is titled Inbred Vermin, and this is pure blackened thrash metal to the core. The stomping thrash riffs totally serve the guitar tone that the album has to offer. The song also incorporates a great cathedral-esque sort of doom section, which really adds a lot to the composition and generally gives an extra dimension to what's going on. I really can't say anything negative about Inbred Vermin. It's my favourite track on the album. I think it's pretty much perfect. It's pretty much already one of my favourite Darkthrone songs, so you know, take from that what you will. The title track, Arctic Thunder, has a great first wave black metal feel. It manages to feel very immediate without picking up the speed too much, and provides a great counterpoint to Inbred Vermin. The song is just full of great riffs, great passages, great phrases, and everything gets its time to fester and kind of grow. At no point in the song do you feel like the band have moved on too quickly from a riff or an idea. It's all given its own time to become an important part of the piece. Throw Me Through the Marshes kicks off with a Sabbath-esque riff with that great crunchy black metal guitar tone. It really kicks everything off perfect and goes superbly with Nocturno Culto's fantastic black metal vocals. It all sounds really awesome against this kind of doomy Sabbath-esque backdrop. As the pace builds, the song begins to lose some of the more interesting stuff about it, but it continues to be compositionally sound and is certainly not a song that I have too many complaints about. Deep Lake Trespass kicks off with possibly my favourite riff on the whole album. There's a perfect sense of second wave black metal melancholy about it, which totally strikes a chord with my soul, so to speak. This song is a touch overlong in spots, but it never feels like it's meandering too far. It remains incredibly straightforward throughout and as such is fairly enjoyable as one of the more inside the box tracks on the album. Unfortunately, the album closes with the Wyoming Distance, which is the weak link on the album. It still does pack a punch though. It has awesome instrumental breaks and catchy riffs, and although it's a bit of a letdown at the end of this generally very strong album, it is a perfectly enjoyable track in its own right. I've got to say, the album has a really uniform sound, which is very nice. The whole thing from the get-go has a very live feel. This kind of very basic black metal instrumentation, mixed in with the fact that the playing is a little bit rough around the edges, fosters that classic black metal atmosphere that we love from those early 90s records. The vocals have pretty much the same kind of echo reverb layering throughout, and as a whole the album just has a great uniform sound. The album is quite experimental in its way. Obviously Darkthrone have gone off in the past and done crust punk and stuff and new wave British heavy metal. This album takes black metal as its basis and then kind of shoots off in different experimental directions from there, which is the way it should be done. For me, Darkthrone are at their best when they play black metal, but within that they've proven that there is a lot of room for manoeuvre and experimentation even within a genre as kind of regimented in a way as black metal. Couple of negatives: no blast beats. It's a real shame, and I'm not saying that I want every song to have blast beats in, but there's no blast beats on this album, and I can't help wondering every time I hear Burial Bliss, as great a song as it is, I just think that song would sound fucking legit with blast beats. They kind of abuse the fade out a little bit too, and I mean, if you know me from my podcast, then you'll know that I'm not a fade out fan at all. I find them quite annoying and anticlimactic, and this album uses the fade out 3 or 4 times and it just kind of leaves me hanging a little bit. And also the album's kind of short. It's only 8 songs, 8 medium length songs, and it just feels like there could have maybe been a couple of extra tracks thrown in there to kind of make the whole thing feel a little bit more meaty. I would highly recommend picking up Arctic Thunder when it comes out on the 14th, I think it is. Overall, I think Arctic Thunder's worthy of an 8 out of 10. That could go up with time. I've got to say I'm really enjoying listening to this album, and I have been since I managed to get hold of it. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. There's a link to my podcast in the description. It's called Ironcast. It's all about music. Why not go and check that out if you've enjoyed this review? I'll see you next time.